darkness.
As Ruth's voice blossomed, Raymond noticed something that excited him deeply. Ruth had more potential than she even realized. She sang from the heart, but there was a rawness to it, a beauty that only needed to be nurtured and polished. He wanted to give her the best. She deserved to be the best. One evening, after dinner, Raymond gently took Ruth's hand, a warm smile playing on his lips. "I've been thinking," Ruth raised an eyebrow, curious. "What's on your mind?" "I want you to enroll in a singing school, Ruth. I want you to learn the techniques, the theory. I want you to have everything you need to be the best. You're already incredible, but you could be extraordinary." Ruth's heart skipped. Her voice was her life now, but to think of being trained professionally, to be taken seriously, scared her. Would she fit in? Would they see her as an imposter, a blind girl among the elite? "I don't know if I can, Raymond. I've never had the chance to." Ruth's voice trembled, but Raymond gently cut her off. "You can. You have everything it takes. All I'm doing is giving you the tools to realize your full potential. You're special, Ruth. The world needs to see that." Tears welled up in Ruth's eyes. She didn't know how to explain the emotional rush that filled her heart. Raymond believed in her, not just in her voice, but in her as a person. The next day, Raymond took Ruth to one of the most prestigious singing schools in the country, a place where legends had been made. As they walked through the grand doors, Ruth's nerves began to kick in. The walls were lined with photos of celebrated artists, many of whom were world-renowned. She felt small in the midst of such greatness, wondering if she belonged. Raymond squeezed her hand gently. "You're just as much a part of this world as they are. Don't forget that." Inside, the head instructor, Ms. Olivia, greeted them warmly. She was an elegant woman, with a voice that could move mountains. Ruth felt a surge of comfort in her presence. "Welcome, Ruth. I've heard much about you," Ms. Olivia said with a smile. "I'm excited to see what you can do." Ruth nodded, her heart racing. "I'm ready." And she was. With Raymond by her side, she was determined to embrace every moment. The next few months were a whirlwind. Ruth began her lessons, working diligently with Ms. Olivia and her team. There were days when Ruth struggled, the scales were difficult, the breath control hard to master. But every time she faltered, Raymond would remind her, "You were made for this. Take your time." And Ruth did. Slowly, she began to refine her technique. Her voice, once purely emotional and instinctual, now had precision, depth, and power. She was learning to control her breath, the subtleties of phrasing, the art of performance. But the most important lesson came when Ruth began to understand that her voice could not just be about technique. She had to sing from her soul, to connect her pain, her joy, her story, to every note. One day, after a particularly hard lesson, Ruth stood in front of the mirror in the practice room, her hand resting on the cool glass of the window, looking out at the busy city streets. The world felt so big, and yet, here she was, learning to shape her future. Raymond appeared at the door, his presence filling the room. He smiled, sensing her hesitation. "You're doing amazing, Ruth. I'm so proud of you." Ruth shook her head, overwhelmed. "I don't know if I'll ever be good enough." He walked to her, cupping her face gently. "You're already good enough. You always were." Her heart swelled with gratitude as she leaned into him. "Thank you, Raymond. For everything." A year passed, and Ruth's training had paid off. She was no longer the timid girl who had stumbled into a mansion, unsure of herself. She was a confident, powerful woman with a voice that had transformed. She had become the artist Raymond always knew she could be. One evening, after months of hard work, the time had come for Ruth's first major performance. It was a private concert, organized by Raymond, where she would sing for a select audience of music industry professionals, including producers, agents, and fans who had been following her journey. The room was filled with anticipation. As Ruth stepped onto the stage, her heart raced, but this time, it wasn't from fear. It was from the excitement of knowing she was exactly where she was meant to be. The lights dimmed. The audience fell silent. Ruth stood still for a moment, gathering her strength, letting the music flow through her, the breath from deep within. She opened her mouth, and the room erupted in emotion. The first note left her lips, pure and clear, cascading through the air like a river of light. Her voice resonated with every person in the room. They felt her pain, her joy, her strength. Each note was a step in her journey from darkness to light, from brokenness to wholeness. Raymond, standing backstage, couldn't help but smile. This was her moment. And it was only the beginning. As Ruth's career blossomed, she never forgot the person who had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. Raymond had given her more than just a chance to sing. He had given her a chance at life, at love, at everything she thought was beyond her reach. And Ruth's voice? It wasn't just a way to make a living. It was a way for her to express every piece of herself, every tear, every smile, every piece of her story. She sang for herself, for Raymond, and for the little girl who had been lost in the darkness, searching for the light. Together, Ruth and Raymond had built a life beyond dreams, a life of love, art, and endless possibilities. The world was waiting for them, and Ruth was ready to meet it head-on. Ruth's days in singing school transformed her life. With Raymond's love and unwavering support, she grew in confidence, strength, and skill. Her voice, once hidden in fear, became a beacon of hope and inspiration across Nigeria. She began performing at shows, radio stations, and live concerts, quickly rising to fame as one of the most recognized and beloved singers in the country. Her story touched millions: the blind girl who overcame abuse, found love, regained her sight, and rose to stardom. But what truly made headlines was not just her talent, but the deep and genuine love between her and Raymond. Their bond grew deeper with every passing day, and in one beautiful, quiet moment of passion, they became one. Months later, Ruth found out she was pregnant. The news brought Raymond to tears. He lifted her in joy, danced around the house, and thanked God for the miracle. And when the day finally came, Ruth gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Their home overflowed with laughter, music, and the kind of happiness Ruth once thought was impossible. But while Ruth and Raymond were thriving, Madame Stella and Ruth's stepbrother were drowning in waste. They squandered Ruth's bride price money on designer bags, luxurious travels, and frivolous pleasures. When the money dried up, reality hit hard. Madame Stella fell gravely ill and needed urgent surgery, but they had no funds left. Desperate and broken, they knocked on Ruth's mansion door. To their shock, Ruth opened the door herself, with clear eyes full of strength. She could see again. Their mouths fell open. They fell to their knees, begging. Begging not just for money, but for forgiveness. Ruth, now a mother and a woman reborn, looked at them with compassion, not hatred. She remembered the pain, the betrayal, but also the mercy she had been shown by Raymond and the blessings she now had. She chose love. She gave them the money for the surgery. And most importantly, she forgave them. Because Ruth had learned something far greater than fame, that true power lies in healing, not revenge.
I was broken, but I sang through the pain. They tried to silence me, but my